tax season rolls around, making sure that we send links to those folders to our clients. I have a SmartVault subscription, so we use it. So I'm going to go ahead and go live and show some of that before we do the drink.
Right.
And then I'm going to pass it off to you.
Cool.
We're on live, just so you know.
Thanks. You suddenly made me bashful. I don't know what to say.
What? We're getting ready. We're going live soon.
I don't know what to say.
What? We're getting ready.
And just so you ladies know, it won't affect Ivy, but if we're still going at 3:45, 3:50, I'm going to run out of here because I go volunteer Tuesday afternoons with an after-school program. So I have to get over to the school to meet the kiddos as they get there. But
Okay.
All right.
Ivy will keep everything going, keep the Appy hour rolling.
Definitely. Into the wee hours of the morning.
Or Appy fun. Because it's apptastic.
It is fantastic.
Okay.
All right, so we're 3 minutes out. I'm going to go ahead and start broadcasting and start the recording.
Sounds good.
All right, we are starting to have some people join. I see Arthur here and my friend Michelle. And let's see, we've got all kinds of friends joining us. Deborah, Dawn, Jenny, Julie, Kathy. Hey, Kathy. Kathy's just right up the road in Massachusetts from me.
That's awesome.
So, hey, everybody, welcome. We're going to get started in just a minute. And Arthur says hi back. Awesome. So, Miss Liz, do you want to do the Q&A in Zoom, and I'll do the Q&A on Facebook? Does that sound like a plan?
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and share out my screen. Or no, you have to share your screen. You're going first.
I'm totally good with that. You just tell me ready, set, go.
There you are. Awesome. I saw it for a minute. Oh, that was me. There's a
Yeah, I haven't shared yet.
Yeah. All right. Still got a couple minutes. So did you have a nice weekend? Did you have a 3-day weekend, Liz?
Well, I've got the rent houses, so.
Oh, right. So you're working hard. Yeah. I had a really relaxing weekend. I went up to Maine to visit my mom.
That is nice. I'm glad that you got that chance.
It was really lovely. It was a long drive though. It takes me about 6 hours to get there. So for a short weekend, well, for a long weekend, it was okay, but whew, it's a lot of driving.
You drive a lot though.
I drive a lot?
Yeah.
I don't really. I drive sometimes, but not, I don't say I drive a lot.
You know, what's interesting in your area is that you can drive in many different directions and get into different states. Where
That's right.
I have Oklahoma.
Yeah. You're in the middle of Oklahoma?
I am in the middle. So, it takes me a while to get anywhere.
Yeah, I'm like about 5 miles from Massachusetts, and about maybe 40 miles, maybe a little longer than that, to Connecticut. But I can be to New Hampshire in 2 hours. Be to Vermont in about 2.5 hours too.
That's pretty cool.
All right. It's 4 o'clock, Liz. Do you know what that means?
It means it's happy hour time.
It's Appy Hour time. So hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's Appy Hour. Today, we're going to be talking all things security, and we're thrilled to have Ivy Donnie here from SmartVault with us. So hi, Ivy. Thanks for joining us today. So we're like jam-packed. How are things now? Where are you joining us from today, Ivy?
So we're in Houston, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Where heat runs 11 months out of the year.
You're a neighbor.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be
Texas game is kind of personal.
That's true. I had a big game this weekend also.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, funny. I'm going to be in Houston in a couple of weeks, or maybe like next month, for some QBO training. Going to do some QBO training in Houston.
Yeah, you gotta stop by the office and hang out with us.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. We'll have to set it up for sure. I'd love to
play meatball. Because we got our swag going on right now. Our SmartVault swag.
We do. I've got Frankie, the little frog, and he's chilling out in his little SmartVault chair.
Is he a lizard? What is he?
No, he's a frog.
Oh, okay.
And he was my mother-in-law's. Wait, how am I doing this? He was my mother. Look how cute that is. He's my mother-in-law's, and I stole him because I love frogs. Like, I really love frogs, and so that was one of those things. And she was okay with it. She said I can have it, but so it's not really stealing. But
I just said, hey, I like it. Enough to make it mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so we have a ton to talk about. So I think we need to dive right in.
Yeah. You want me to start? Is that what we're doing?
I think we need to start. I think we need to jump in so that we can get through all of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Okay. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen and let's just go for it. All right. So today we're talking about internet security, and part of, our reason for being here is as accountants using cloud accounting, we really need to be paying attention to security and making sure that we're doing the best job of making sure our clients' data is secure. And that's both internally with our members of our firm, and then also externally with sharing our clients' data.
Absolutely. And it can get super confusing, right? You hear so much, and it can be super confusing trying to kind of navigate that, especially I think for, a small practitioner that doesn't have an IT department, right? So they don't have a dedicated IT department that's kind of guiding them in this arena. It can be really confusing and really scary.
Exactly. And so that's part of what we're doing is we're talking to those small firms that are like our own, that are under 10 people, and how do you securely keep your clients' data? So Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
I do. I'm looking at all the attendees, and I think I know like all of them, but I'll introduce myself anyway. Hey, everyone. Hi, everyone I know. I'm Heather Satterley. I am an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor and now a certified Zapier expert. Woohoo!
Awesome.
And I know, I'm so excited about that. And I have a firm called Satterley Training and Consulting in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. So we're about an hour south of Boston. And my firm lives and breathes apps that work with QuickBooks Online. So that's really I help people to, work through their workflows, to vet apps, to find the right app for the right, the right solution for the right workflow. And I also provide coaching, and I do some content development and some training for Intuit as well. So that's me.
And I just want to say ditto.
We have the same life. Right.
That's why the Appy Hour happened, is that we really do have very similar firms, and our firm revolves around QuickBooks and the ecosystem, and making sure our clients have got the best tools possible, making sure that they know how to use them, and so support and training and writing curriculum, all of those things. So that's, I think, why we're such a great match. So it just makes it fun to chat.
Absolutely. Ivy, do you want to just we're going to introduce you later, but I mean, take a second to just introduce yourself and tell people where you're at and what's going on. And
Absolutely. So I guess I can't say ditto, can I?
You could.
Yeah. So I'm actually the director of sales of SmartVault, and we want to say that we are the backup IT support system, if you will, for all the integrated apps that may run through an accounting firm's suite of products. I love to say we could be a lifeline. I love Liz's tag there, but we can actually support the lifeline of that through the apps that we offer. And we're known as educators, not always coming in to say that SmartVault is the best. We may say what other apps work with SmartVault. So it isn't always about SmartVault, and that's why a lot of people kind of adopt our culture. But that's who we are, and that's who I am. That's
a great point. And I'm going to just jump off a little bit and say one of the things that's really cool that I want to later focus on is HubDoc and SmartVault. So that's maybe not something we're going to talk about today, but that's an integration that our firm uses, and so many of our accounting firms like us are using HubDoc, and there's a integration between the tool that's really nice. So
yeah, you're 1,000% correct. We just did a new webinar with them, I want to say a couple of months ago, that introduced some new things that we work with their firm on, and you're spot on. There's a bunch of things that you can automate in your workflow by using integrated apps, so you're 1,000% on.
Love it. I love it. So let me go ahead and just move on to our agenda today. And the thing that we're going to be talking about, understanding encryption, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist in order to be able to get some of the gist of it, because what we're really wanting to do is focus on how you can use the tools that you need to be able to be secure and safe. And then the best practices to be able to use a VPN. So many of us are traveling, and so many of us are cloud accountants, that we need to understand what we can do to make sure that we're hack proof. And then password apps, and then secure file storage. And then we're happy to say that SmartVault is here today with us as our sponsor. And of course, we're going to share a special drink with them.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Oh, and we're also going to talk about the finalists for the $100,000 app show.
I know, that's such huge news, that top 10.
Definitely.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Right.
So if you want to be able to learn more about us, you can, of course, go to our Facebook page, and we have a Twitter account. And then we also have a Facebook lounge group. And so you can hang out and ask questions and join us.
Absolutely.
So moving on, talking about you don't have to lose your mind in order to make sure that you're being safe. And so that's exactly what we want to focus today on, is encryption, the VPNs. I know that we keep hearing that term, and so what exactly does that mean? Heather has some great experience with different VPNs, and so she's going to share that with us, because it really is important, not only in your home office or your office location, but also if you're using a laptop and traveling around. And then a little tidbit about those password vaults. It's kind of, some good need to know information. And then making sure that you're storing and transferring files properly. And then now in this cloud accounting world, it's also important to maybe circle back around to your liability insurance and make sure that you've got some coverage for internet fraud. It's usually just a little small add-on, but to make sure that if you haven't touched base with whoever, we're not promoting anybody, we're just saying whoever it is that you're using, it's a phone call, it's an email, to just make sure that you've got that coverage.
And I would say that, you know, when I just renewed my insurance coverage, and I did opt in for the cybersecurity rider, and you know, it was interesting because a lot of the questions as you're going through that application, it asks questions that, especially as, you know, small accounting firms and solo practitioners, things that we don't think about, like such as having our privacy policy on our website is really important, and even having a privacy policy. Do you know what your privacy policy is? Do you know what it should be? And, you know, having a lot of times that the insurance companies will actually help guide you through that so that you understand, and they'll give you resources, you know, sample privacy policies, other things that you need to be aware of.
That's a great point. And, you know, one thing that we were looking at internally was, does our engagement letters have a just a line or two that just talks about what is our privacy policy?
Awesome.
So that's a good point.
So important. So important.
So starting with understanding encryption, and really whenever we start about the basics, what does understanding encryption mean? Really all we're talking about is its secret code. And this is one of those things that goes back to, you know, wartime, just making sure that you can send a secure message. That's exactly what's happening with the internet. We're just making sure that you can send these secure messages. And so anytime that you're on a site that has the HTTPS, you're saying that it's secure. And so that S stands for secure. So if you're ever curious what that, if that site actually has a secure encryption, you can just look for the S, and that's going to let you know that you're already using encryption. And so a lot of the sites that we as accountants are on have already got that built into it. And then safeguarding your clients. So making sure that you're scrambling up that data. So whenever you're sending information through the interweb, you want to be able to say, I've taken that data and I'm coding it, encrypting it, so that way if somebody else in the trail of going across the interweb grabs a hold and sees it, they're able to not be able to understand what it means. And I am not a big believer in you have to lock down your world and be scared. I'm more of a believer of, if you're using the right tools, then you know you've done your due diligence and you know that there's tools out there. So I'm more about making sure that you're educated to use the right tools so that way you don't have to be an encryption expert. So there's a couple of different types of encryption. And so if we're talking about, there's one type of encryption that we can say the whole message is encrypted and there's a key in order to lock the data. And when it gets to the other side, that same key is used to then unlock that data. And then there's other tools out there that there's a key for locking the data for whenever it's sent, and then a key to unlock the data. So depends on what kind of encryption that you're using, but there's multiple types out there. And so block ciphers. And so, you know, I just want to dive in a little bit and talk about the different types of encryption. So block ciphers is you've got bits of information. And so if we want to call it a table of information, so if you've got all these tables, then you can have an encryption key that takes each one of those tables and creates a encryption. So that way, when it's then sent over to the place that it's getting to, then there's a cipher key that's used to each one of those blocks decode. And so this type of the block cipher, this type of encryption is taking each table and coding it. There's also stream ciphers, and stream ciphers is going to take all of the data, and inside of the tool, it's going to code all of the data at once. And then there's different types of decoding that can happen on the other side of it. So bits and pieces of data can be decoded. And one of the things that happens with these types of ciphers is if you do have somebody who hacks and tries to maybe read an email or tries to log onto your PC and they want to be able to see data that lives there, you know, they might be able to get to table of data, but they're not able to actually decode it because they don't have the cipher key in order to understand what that data even means. And so that's why we use some of these tools. And that's why choosing our tools wisely allows us to be able to work and to streamline our processes to make sure that we're not slowing down our work by making sure that we're being safe. Instead, we can put all of that data in one spot and understand that we're using a tool that has encryption built into it.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to another practitioner last week, and she was talking about, she had just implemented new technology in her firm where she has an encryption. It's this device. It's actually a device that goes into her USB drive, and it encrypts all of her data. And so when that little thing, key, is in her computer, then she has access to everything on her computer. But at the end of the day, she can take that key out of her computer and no one can access or read anything on her laptop. So that was really, yeah, it was really interesting. There's lots and lots of ways that you can protect your data. You know, we have, BitLockers, which are an extra layer of security for your local computer, right? That would protect all the files and, that all the documents and files that are on your computer. Those are awesome, but man, if you lose that password, you can be in a lot of trouble with that. So you've got to make sure. We're going to talk about passwords in just a few minutes. So.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really glad that Ivy from SmartVault's here, is because that is what we do. We put all of our data inside of SmartVault, and our belief is we're not reliant on any terminal. We're not reliant on any CPU. So it doesn't matter what device we're using or what location. Somebody could steal our whole hard drive. They've got nothing.
Right.
They don't have any data because it all lives securely in the cloud.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's actually a perfect point, right? Is that now you're bringing a third party to actually assist you with that part of the program, but there are things in between that, like you said, that was a suggestion with the USB that can be done in conjunction with companies like SmartVault. So yeah, that's exactly the point. And then you guys can rely on us to do the heavy lifting on the back end.
Right, because we are not encryptors. We're accountants.
Right. And I will say, if anyone can get past all the armed guards and the data center and all the different parameters that you have to do, the retina, all that stuff to get in, even when it gets into the data, our data is encrypted as well on our side through the technology you guys just mentioned. So they can't even see the data once it gets there. So if you're that sophisticated, you still couldn't get anything if you got through the data center.
Right. Yeah, I can't wait to show this a little bit of SmartVault here in a minute, because to me, it's one of my favorite tools. So I'm happy that we use it. So Heather, I'm going to pass to you. Do you want me to stop sharing and you share?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to be talking about VPNs. So VPNs, we're going to talk about VPNs and passwords. That's what I would like to talk about. So what is a VPN? A VPN is a virtual private network, and I'm sure that most of you have heard of a virtual, VPN network. I'm sure lots of you probably have a VPN in your practice, especially if you're in a larger firm. Most firms now do have VPN technology that helps to protect when they have a remote workforce, and it's really, really important. So what is it? Really, all that it is it's an encrypted tunnel between your computer and a server. And that server could be your server, right? So it could be a server sitting in your office that you have either used hardware VPN or software VPN in order to create that encrypted tunnel. And it allows you to pass data through that tunnel, and no one can see what's actually happening inside that tunnel. So it's completely encrypted. And so when the data leaves the tunnel and then is transmitted to the website on the other end, that's where we have a little bit of risk going on, right? So I could use a VPN, and my data could be completely protected going through a VPN tunnel. But when it exits the VPN, if I'm not on a site that has that HTTPS that Liz was talking about earlier, then that means that the website that I'm dealing with isn't encrypted. So that means as soon as the data leaves the tunnel, it's now at risk. Whatever I've put into Even if I'm using a VPN, anything that I have, transmitted through that VPN is no longer protected unless the receiving website has that HTTPS. So hackers and even your ISP can't see the sites that you visit or any of the data you share. So when you create a VPN, they can't see where you're going, what you're doing. And so people use that for a variety of reasons. First of all, the reason that we think the most common reason is to protect our data so that people can't, grab pieces of personal information and then exploit them against us, right? Other reasons that people use VPNs is not to be tracked. So if you're an anti-government or a conspiracy theorist and you think that people are watching you, then lots of people use VPNs in order to stay anonymous on the internet, because when you're transmitting through a VPN, you can't be seen. And so they can't even see your IP address where you're located, because that's actually being transmitted through the VPN mask. Okay, so the VPN can be created on your network, or you can use a VPN service. So if it's on your network, there's a couple of ways that you can go. You can buy hardware. So you can use hardware, which is you can get VPN enabled routers. And you can also get really fancy VPN vaults that will, that are firewalls that really lock down your data. And that's most common in larger firms, right? And those are great. They're generally more secure than using a software VPN. They're self-managed, and really they're typically going to be a little bit faster, because if you think about it, if you're using hardware that has its own processor and its own firewall, it's not going to be depending on the resources of the machines that you're actually operating on, right? So I use a VPN. I'm me. I have me, and I have one part-time employee, and I have one outsourced employee that I use or that I work with. And so I use a VPN service in my practice, and the VPN service, it does tend to slow down my internet connection. It slows down the traffic from my computer to all the other websites that I'm visiting, and I can see that when I have the VPN turned on. And the reason for that is because I'm running software that has to use my computer's processor in order to run. And so in order for it to do that, it has to use resources that my other applications would otherwise be using. The beauty of a VPN hardware is that it's got its own processor. So it's not going to be using the resources of the other equipment in the office. They're typically more expensive. You can find a VPN enabled router for about $70, and it can go way over $1,000. And in addition to that, there's some maintenance required in order to have that technology in your office. You need somebody that really knows how to set it up. Sometimes that's easier, and some of the hardware is a little bit easier to set up than others, but typically you're going to need somebody to help you do that. And then there's going to be updates, right? If you update your network, there's typically going to be, updates, sometimes additional hardware that you have to buy, or you have to upgrade that hardware. So it can be more, more costly to maintain. So those hardware VPNs are really the most secure, but they're also the most expensive, and then they're hardest to maintain. So that's one way to go. You can also have software VPNs, so service providers, and the VPN software can be installed on if you have a router that's VPN enabled. Sometimes you can use that, and you can install on your existing hardware. If you're able to do that, some hardware allows you to do that, some hardware does not. But if you can, what's great about that is rather than just loading it on your machine so that your machine is protected when you're running the VPN, it would actually protect all the devices on your network, right? So if you have a printer that's connected, for web printing, and you have other workstations, your iPad, your phone, if you are running the VPN software on your router, then it's going to protect all the devices that are in your network. Okay. If you install the VPN software on your computer, it's just going to protect your computer. And there's lots of different, different options out there. We're going to talk about quite a few of them in just a moment. As I mentioned when I was talking about the hardware, it does reduce your speed because it's using the processor of your computer, of your equipment. So it has to pull that away from other resources. And I did a test today. I'm not sure if it was an anomaly, but I ran my VPN here in my office, and I normally get about 160 megabytes per second upload or download, excuse me. And I was getting like 10. So I don't normally run the VPN in my office. I use the VPN typically when I'm traveling, because if I'm traveling and I need to connect to the internet via, a coffee shop or a hotel, I want to make sure that, that no one can see my data, because those are open networks. And I'm sure you all have heard the horror stories that if you're on an open network, then they can absolutely see any of the data that you're transmitting back and forth.
And another thing that I do whenever I'm in a hotel is I name my laptop something weird.
Like so what? Give an example. I'm dying to know.
Well, I can't tell you because then it'd be like, everybody would know. But instead of being like Accounting Lifeline, it's, something silly that wouldn't draw attention to, it's an accounting firm's laptop. So, I mean, something goofy like, kids games or janitorial services. I mean, I name it something that makes no sense to anybody who's looking to hack into it.
Right.
So I name my laptop's a goofy name. My cell phone's the same way. I've named it something goofy. So.
And you can, and there are some of the, some of the VPN providers do have an option to hide your computer from the local area network so that people can, and that's actually a Windows setting too. You could set that in your Windows network settings to say you don't want to be discovered. But I've seen that too, like walking around, I think, when I used to, before I wised up and I used to just accept internet connections or I could at least see them, I would see some like, FBI or
right.
It's really names that were kind of out there.
Hey, I gotta say, guys, I come from the internet world, so I'm super impressed by all the information you guys actually have. It's pretty cool.
Well, thanks.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, we feel like this is definitely useful information for our type of people.
100%.
It is.
Accounting firms and bookkeepers, we have a lot of responsibility with our clients' data.
So true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the most important responsibility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, the nice thing about the VPN service providers and the software is that they can be, as I mentioned, they can be installed on a router, they can be installed on your machine. They're very low cost to maintain. One that I used to use, I just switched recently, but I used, what did I use? I think I used a VAST product, and the VAST product was like $15 for the year, and it protected 6 devices. So it was very, very low cost. I just switched over to Nord, which I'm going to show you what the VPN looks like in just a minute. I'll do a little demo. But these VPN service providers can be anywhere from free, and we all know, right? Free is never free, right?
Right.
You need to be reading privacy policies. You need to understand what data they're sharing, right? Because you're transmitting all your data through these VPNs, which means that they can see your data, right? So you need to make sure that you're going with a reputable company and that you've researched it, you've done your due diligence. So anywhere from free to like $70 a year is basically on average for those VPN services. And typically they will protect up to 6 devices. So things to look for in a VPN service, make sure you do your research. Remember, free is never really free. Make sure you choose a provider you trust. Talk to other people that are using VPN services. If you know an IT person, you're working with an IT person, that's a great person to turn to. If you're looking to connect securely to your own home office, consider using a router that supports VPN connectivity. So, and that's something that I did want to touch on. You can use a VPN to connect to your server, right? Or your workstation at your work. When you do that, you're actually connecting to your workstation and nothing can see, nobody can see what's happening beyond, with that connection. If you are using a VPN service, you're connecting to somebody else's server, right? So these VPN services, they have their own servers, and typically they have anywhere between 500 to over 3,000 servers worldwide. And so that's why you really want to do your due diligence and make sure it's a reputable company and that you're comfortable with that, because you're connecting to their service, they're creating that tunnel for you. And then when you exit the VPN to actually transmit the data to whatever service you're working on, as I mentioned, you just want to make sure that you're using HTTPS. If you travel, find a VPN service that has many servers in different locations. So I went to Spain last spring, and I was connecting. It made sense to me to connect to the VPN server in Spain, right? I'm in Spain. I should connect to the server in Spain, except for the fact that every time I tried to log into my bank that is here in the United States, it wouldn't let me connect to the bank. It would give me an error saying that my password was wrong and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And what was happening was my bank knows that I'm located in the US. So when they saw me trying to connect from Spain, they were like, no way. You can't connect to your account because what are you doing in Spain? You're supposed to be in Rhode Island. And so the benefit of VPNs, these VPN service providers that have multiple servers all over the world, is I was able to connect to the VPN in Boston from Spain, and then I was able to access my, my online banking. So that's really convenient if you are needing to access, different. If you need to make it appear like you're in a different country, VPNs can be very useful for that. And then finally, use a VPN service that uses Open VPN protocol. The other options, there's a couple out there, and I almost listed them for you, but really I want to drive home. You really want to use Open VPN protocol. You want to make sure that your VPN provider, that's what they're using, that's the most secure. The other options that are out there are older and not as secure. And there's plenty of options that use Open VPNs. There's really no reason to be using anything else. Anything to add to that, Ivy?
No, I was just going to say that's actually an important message. One thing I jotted down is something to talk about with security is one thing that SmartVault prides itself on under security is the IP address that it's getting routed from in the activity log. So in the same example as you mentioned a second ago, let's say a computer gets stolen or something and someone's now transmitting information or looking for information from another place. If it doesn't register from the IP address that's normally registering from, then you know it's a phisher or a hacker or someone getting into the network looking for information. So the VPN point is spot on, but also having a provider that accesses activity logs to show you where your data is being compromised from is something that's super important as well. So that's a good mention with VPN.
Absolutely. Thank you. So will my VPN cause my computer to run slower? Yes. The short answer is yes, it will. It will cause your computer to run slower. And I explained why. It's because it's using, if you have a VPN that is on your router, you're using hardware, it's going to be faster for sure, but it's still going to be slower than if you use nothing at all. So I actually stole this from PC Mag, but this was, they compared these 10 VPN providers to show which ones had were slowest or fastest. So you can take a peek at that. We'll certainly upload the slides to our Facebook page, and you'll have access to it. And you can actually, the link for that article is right here, so you can go take a peek at that as well. So yes is the answer, but it's well worth it. Well worth it. You need to have a VPN, especially if you're using public Wi-Fi. All right, so I'm just going to show you real quick on my computer. I have I'm using NordVPN now. This is the one that I chose. It had a really good deal. It has some special features, it's got Onion over VPN, and Onion over VPN actually allows you to access the dark web or Tor something, which I would ever go there myself. But you can do that, and supposedly it would be safe for you to do that. So Nord is it's a reputable company. I've been very happy with it so far. It's got over 3,000 servers all over the world. You have the P2P, you have the double VPN, and you also have this dedicated IP. So as Ivy was saying, that could be a real issue, right? When you're jumping around from different IP addresses. And so having a dedicated IP, you're still creating that VPN connection, but it's always coming from the same IP address. So that can solve some issues that you may have when you're connecting to certain, partners. Okay. So to connect, I'm not connected now. I typically don't connect when I'm in my home network. I could, but I typically don't. We do have a firewall here, so that's just something that I don't do because I don't. So to connect, all I have to do, this is really easy, guys. All I have to do is click that little button, and it will go out and it will connect to the closest server in the United States. I also have the ability to connect to a specific server if I want. And then I have, you know, different countries. So if I wanted to connect Korea or Spain or whatever, I could do that. Once I'm connected, and you're going to see that now I'm going to move very slowly because I've connected to the VPN. Then now it's me and Nord servers. So that's what you need. That's a big takeaway here is there's now a VPN tunnel from my computer and the Nord servers. So whatever I transmit on the internet is going to be going through to the Nord servers, and then it will exit to finish transmitting the data. So I'm going to turn that off. Settings as well. So so that's the Nord VPN. I just wanted to kind of show you what that looked like. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
But that's an example. You could see how I lost connectivity, right? As soon as I turned that VPN on,
yes.
That was a good example of what happens when you use a VPN. But I'm telling you, it's well worth it, especially when you're traveling.
Well, I mean, what we're talking about is just being secure. So sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit, but you're secure.
Right. Yep. So last thing I'm going to just quickly talk about is password vaults. We all love password vaults. If you're like me, I also have a little notepad right here with all my passwords on it. But most of my passwords are in a password vault. I've used LastPass, which I really loved. It's easy to use. There's a bunch of them out there. As with all of the OWL apps, do your due diligence, right? Read reviews, talk to people. Most of these password vaults, they support multiple devices. So when you can access your passwords on your phone, on your iPad, from your computer, and then some of them allow you to share your credentials with your team without exposing your password. So if you have people that work for you, you can actually, you know, share that credential with them. They'll never see your password, but they'll still be able to access the application using your password. And then make sure that you enable two-factor authentication. One thing that I want to show you, if you're using a password vault and it's a Chrome extension, which are very, very popular, right? A Chrome extension, Firefox extension, it allows you to basically auto-fill your password from your password vault. One of the things you need to make sure is that you have turned off the password, the offer to save password setting in your browser. If you don't do this, and I was talking to somebody about this last week, and I mentioned this to them, they went in and they had like 100 passwords saved in their browser and they didn't even know it. This is not encrypted. And if somebody is able to get into your Google account, guess what they have? They have access to all your passwords. So to turn this off, and I do recommend that you do that, you're going to go into the browser settings, and then you're going to click on advanced, and then you want to make sure that you turn off the password. So click on passwords and then just make sure this is turned off, and make sure that the auto sign in is turned off. And
I love that you're sharing that.
Yeah, it's a big surprise because, you know, you get these password vaults and, you know, you don't realize it. And sometimes most of the time, you know, that was turned on and I would click no, but sometimes if you're fast, you don't realize that you click yes. And then what happens is it copies the password and saves it to your Google account, and then you're at risk.
Well, and you know, one of the things that I had happen was it wasn't me who did it. It was somebody else using my credentials on a different computer. And so they actually said yes to having those settings saved. So all I'm going to say about that is it's actually, even if you don't do it yourself, in your firm, it may be a good idea to just go through and make sure that in those settings that you check to make sure that there is nothing saved.
Absolutely.
It's just a little thing, but it's easy.
I'm going to stop sharing and you're going to jump into SmartVault. Do we want to just stop and make our toast now and then jump in, or what do you think?
I'm totally good with that.
All right. Awesome. So
I know I'm all into the toast.
All right, let's do that real quick. And then we're going to it's going to be all about SmartVault. So I'm just going to open this up. So we've got our SmartVault Intercontinental. And I've been dying to drink this.
Me too.
All day.
So okay, I have to say a fun thing about our drink is that the whole reason that it's intercontinental is that SmartVault is not just a domestic tool, but it's also international. So
I love it.
Yeah, so I was like, man, we got to make sure that we highlight the fact that not only can you use SmartVault here locally, but you can also use it abroad. So you're safe here and there.
We're safe
Good
everywhere.
And the other thing that I'm going to say before I take a big old drink is that SmartVault is celebrating 10 years.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so here's the recipe, everybody. So you can find that. We'll post that. I think it's already on Twitter, and we'll post it on our website. I'm going to take it.
That drink looks amazing, by the way.
That's so good. That's so good.
We can make sure we tell you about it. It's awesome.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Ivy, for coming on, and I can't wait to hear about SmartVault. I think Liz is going to give a quick demo, and then I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about your program for accountants.
That's awesome.
So, and you know, as far as like the 10-year celebration, SmartVault's also going to have a booth that's going to be at QuickBooks Connect that's going to be celebrating their 10 years. And they also wanted to make sure that they gave away swag to our audience. So I want to make sure that you've got the link to be able to register for those giveaways. So Heather, are you posting that right now in our Zoom chat and our Facebook chat? Because we want to make sure that you get an opportunity. So some of my swag that I've got is I've got a little Pikachu who's wearing my sunglasses. So little Pika. And he's sitting in his lounge chair. Heather has a frog sitting in a lounge chair, but mine's Pika. And then there's this little fan. And it took me a minute to figure out exactly what this was, because it comes like this.
I didn't get
was like, is it a flashlight? No, it's a fan.
That's awesome.
So I have to say I'm actually really excited about using this at soccer because my son plays soccer.
Oh, I'm a soccer player. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, he loves year-round soccer. He's like,
there you go.
So he's like my big soccer dude that I get excited about, like watching.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I will say, guys, while you're talking about the swag, kudos to the marketing team. They have done a whole lot of different marketing campaigns for our customers and also customers that we're involved with that may not be with SmartVault yet, but we know who they are. And part of that is just having some fun with people, the koozies, you see the beach ball behind you. We did a football campaign with some of the search customers and thought leaders with that. So it's real fun to do different things like that, to change it up a little bit, have some fun with the swag.
I agree. And okay, so one of the other things that's going to end up being my favorite with the swag is the cooler bag.
Yeah,
so, really, Saturday games, whenever I'm wanting to make sure that not only my son has water because he's got a big old thermos, but the family who's watching soccer, and it's one of those that's insulated. So I'm actually really excited about my bag because that means I get to put my snacks in it, my drinks and my snacks.
Yeah, that was an awesome campaign we ran in the summer.
I love it.
Cool.
So I want to actually look at the product. I want to share just a little bit about our SmartVault and how we use it. And then I'm going to pass it over to Ivy so he can talk about the accountant program. But one of the people who turned me on to SmartVault was Dawn Brolin. And she was, talking about SmartVault and how secure it is. And we all know that Dawn's like our leader when it comes to being secure and fraud protected. So our firm had already been using SmartVault, but we went ahead and we went to the new version of SmartVault. So if you're already an existing SmartVault user, there is this new platform. And I wanted to show you just a little bit about that platform. So one of the cool things is I'm able to create a new client, and it's easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go live. So I know that we had talked about having these slides available for everyone, but I also want to just go live into my SmartVault page so you can see it here. And so I'm using what's called the connected desktop. So I'm on my dashboard and I've got my clients here. And so if I have a new phone call and I have a new engagement that I need to create, I can actually create a client engagement. I've got my folders here. But if I want to go ahead and add a client, one of the things that's really cool about adding a client is I get all my subfolders. And so we get a directory that's created. And for me, this is a time saver because we were able to say, SmartVault, these are the folder names and types that we need. And so we automatically, when we create a new client, we get a bookkeeping folder, a tax folder, a correspondence folder. And so we get this whole directory of folders that are subfolders under that client's name. So let me show you what I mean. So if I come over here and I say, let's go ahead and create a new client. So it's just a series of little clicks. So I can say this is an entity and the name is, let's call it test 101. So now all I have to do is save. And I don't do the rest of, that there's a bill.com integration. So there's several different types of integrations that I could do next in order to show the, oops, I didn't mean to. There's a whole bunch of different integrations that I can do in order to connect with HubDoc and bill.com. But I just want to create that client folder, and I'm able to then see all of my folders by going over here and saying, here's my clients, and I get my directory of clients. And for us, we decided to break it up into groups of the alphabet. So we've got each subfolder of clients broken down by alphabetical groups. And then we also have employees have got a folder. Which I love about that is that sometimes an employee might save some personal notes. I don't want those ever living on that employee's PC. Again, I want to make sure that it's secure. So being able to have an employee folder, that's just the employees folder. They can store whatever details about a client or whatever details about their workflow, whatever notes they want to store are securely safe. And then we have this HubDoc directory. And this is where we can actually integrate with HubDoc, scan using our ScanSnap, and it will feed into SmartVault and talk to HubDoc, and we're actually able to create bills that go into bill.com. So there's some really cool integrations that happen through SmartVault. But let me go ahead and go over to my client. And the thing that I wanted to show you is I created that new client, and here's all my subdirectory. So I didn't have to do anything extra in order for all of these folders to be created. So I can come over here and I can see, here's my bookkeeping folder. Well, now I've got bookkeeping for 2017, 2018. If I wanted to create a new folder, then I could actually create a new folder in my directory, and I can name it maybe 2019, since that's right around the corner. And maybe I'm getting our new rates. And so right now, some of those notices are being sent out. So I could even create another folder. Something else that's really cool is let me move my little Zoom chat, is say that I've got my bookkeeping folder and it's my 2018. And if I wanted to be able to share that folder. So maybe I wanted to grant access to this folder to one of our employees. So I could actually grant access to an employee. And so I don't have to grant access to everyone. I could just say which employees does it make sense for them to see this folder. The other thing I could do is I could create a link for maybe my client. And so I don't want my client to see everything. And maybe all I want them to do is to be able to pass 2018 bank statements to me. Or I could come down here to their tax return and I could say, I want them to be able to see their tax return. And so I could actually create a link so that way they could get invited to sends link. So come over here and I could say a guest, because it would be a guest user. And I could invite them to see their tax return folder. Is there anything, Ivy, that you want to talk about, like with what I just was sharing?
Yeah, no, I would say that you're doing a really good job of navigating, and you've built this for your firm. What's nice about this, though, is the same manner you did this is fully customizable. If the folder structure may look a little different for whatever firm, it's going to use the software. So it's really neat. I like to say it's a very, very neat house, right? You think about pre-Smart Vault or maybe how documents are stored today, it may not be easy to find a client, navigate to a certain folder, and find the document you're looking for. That process may take 10 minutes. The way it is with SmartVault, you can do a search for the client and you can find the document or the folder within seconds. And that's a time saver. That's what we're ultimately trying to do, is build a better workflow, automate the workflow, and save you time and efficiency.
Yes. And, you know, one of the things about the workflow is for our client or our employees, some of them are virtual, and we don't want them having all of these client files living on their computers or whenever we're traveling. We don't want to have it on our laptops. And so one of the things that's really nice is you can make changes inside of SmartVault and you never have to download it and re-upload it. It's saved inside of SmartVault, so it's secure, and everybody within the firm has access to it. And of course, you know, I walked through, you know, granting access into folders or subfolders. So you're really able to narrow down on, do you want every employee to be able to see every single bank account? And is that something that they really need access to? You can decide which employees, which clients see. And I love that.
Yeah, agreed. It lets you maintain control of your firm and all the documents that reside within it, for sure.
Yes, I love that. Okay, Ivy, so I did my I love SmartVault. Here's what I want to show, but I'm going to pass it over to you.
That's great.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that this was our toast screen that we went ahead and did early, but I'm going to go ahead and drink some more.
Yeah.
And pass it over to you, Ivy.
Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch for hosting this with us. And again, most of what we talk about at SmartVault is just trying to create a better workflow, better efficiency. Security is the core of what we do. It's actually how we were built. The very first company that was pre-SmartVault, the same person that opened up SmartVault, sold the company to Symantec, and everyone should be familiar with by now who Symantec is. So the belly of SmartVault is really built on security. Now, along the lines of that, we adopted the accounting community, which is where we work in heaviest today. But the neat thing about it, though, is at the end of the day, we're after security, right? And one thing we were talking about, I guess a few minutes ago was, yeah, the internet may be a little bit slower, but it's secure. What we also really preach here is security over convenience. That's like our catchphrase, right? You may lose a little bit of conveniences here and there, but if it's more secure and your network's better for it, your client's documents are saved, protected, right? You have to worry about all the different ways that people maliciously get into documents and do bad things with them, right? Then your clients are better for it. So we really focus on security as like the front gear of our ship. So I'm the director of sales. My role with SmartVault is really just to educate. We basically do run kind of a dual campaign with all the other integrated apps like HubDoc you mentioned a second ago, Bill.com, different apps, LedgerSync, Microsoft Outlook. We also have a full integration with the Intuit suite of products. But really what we're after is just creating a better workflow for not only you as the firm of one or firm of many, but also your clients in the same manner. So we're trying to make it really, really nice for everyone to work inside of a nice software. If you go to the very next slide, I can kind of talk on kind of the points that we offer. So again, save time and money with paperless office and standardized workflows. So the nuts and bolts, what we do is very, very simple at the core, right? We make it so you can easily share, securely store, collect, and also save documents in the cloud. Now, I mean, I'm sure we're an educated audience. You guys know a lot about the cloud. The myth behind that is there is no cloud. It's a data center. It's a big building that has a lot of people with machine guns, right? That's how the data gets stored securely. But what we want to do is simplify the process of that to collect files from your clients and also internally how you share documents amongst each other. You know, one thing that we inside of SmartVault is the fact that there's a bunch of different ways to share documents. There's a bunch of different ways to save documents, right? You could securely have a file cabinet that's sitting, you know, underneath your desk or behind your desk, right? But what happens when there's a fire? What happens when there's theft in the office? What happens when one of your employees goes rogue and takes it off that file cabinet with them, out the front door, right? There's all these things that could happen. So what we want to say is that the most secure way to store documents is to put them with a company that's going to store those documents for you. For us, happens to be SmartVault. That's where I work. But there's a bunch of different ways to do that, right? Now, one of the things that we always talk about with the accounting space, some of our closest customers kind of share the sentiment with us, is there is a very, very secure way to send emails or also share files via email. You can encrypt them. As we talked about before, there's a bunch of different ways. But what we offer is a client portal. And that's one thing that when we talk about security, it does give your clients a very secure way to share documents back with the firm, right? We encrypt them on the front end if we want to, but how do your clients get the documents back to you, right? And that's one thing that we always offer as a client portal. Now, we do say that, hey, listen, we can encrypt documents a bunch of different ways. We have about 4 different ways to do that. But the most secure way to do that is what we say is through a client portal. And the reason is 50% of all the breaches that happen go through a phishing attempt. And of course, that's a big deal. So what we also try to do is also standardize your workflow and do some automation of that. So what that basically means is all those folder structures that Liz showed you a few minutes ago, those are all embedded in the program that SmartVault built from the ground up. I do want to say that this wasn't a software that was purchased, right? Our owner actually built the software. So all those automated workflows come with SmartVault from the ground up. It comes off the truck. Now, the only thing that you have to do with us is just kind of discuss with us what types of folders you like and what the structure may look like on your end, because your firm may be different than Liz's. Liz is different than Heather's, right? It just kind of depends on who's in charge of their firm and how they want it to look. But all that stuff comes standardized and it's all customizable. So everything can be customized with SmartVault. On the right top side, talking about more of the paper-based tasks. So there are different ways you can do things inside of SmartVault that will allow you to do things that don't exist with, printing out a piece of paper, putting it in a stamp, licking it and throwing it in the mail, right? We do some of that stuff automated. We can also automate ways to send tax returns out. We can send automated tax engagements. We can send organizers out. There's a bunch of things that SmartVault has in the system off the truck that can be automated that today may look like a paper-based task. So a lot of firms now are looking to go wireless, looking to go to the cloud, looking to go paperless. All those things can live inside of SmartVault and make the firm run a lot more efficient and save trees and better the environment in the meantime. So the last point I want to talk about on this slide, just to underscore what Heather and Liz have both been mentioning, is just eliminate security vulnerabilities. With SmartVault being our 10-year anniversary, believe me, we could not have made it 10 years in this space without having security at the core, right? And we talk about that all the time. As a matter of fact, there's some customers who would prefer convenience over security. Those usually aren't our customers. And we'll be honest with them. Hey, listen, if you're looking for a lot of convenience, it doesn't necessarily jive with how we have the security, then for right now, we may not be the best fit for you. And we'll even recommend other companies that may be a better fit for them, right? Because we know that there's a lot of providers out there that offer, I'd say, similar services that we do, but if they're not really focused on security, and security is going to be something that you can compromise with, then that might not be a good fit for what we're looking to do. So as you saw on one of the slides, we offer 2-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. We have a way to encrypt documents about 4 different ways. We not only encrypt the document when it's going in transit, so when you send to a client, when the client sends it back, it's also encrypted, and it's also encrypted at rest. So there's 4 different ways that we actually encrypt the document. We have a data center that's super secure. We're also migrating some of our software to AWS, which is a global platform. And then we also, as we talked about a little earlier, have an activity log. A lot of people gloss over the activity log because it doesn't look all fancy and doesn't have anything shiny attached to it. But if your laptop gets stolen and you're trying to figure out who's looking to get into it and where are they looking at it from, you can all the way go down to an IP address and figure out exactly where that is coming from. Not only that, but if one of your internal employees somehow get in the mix of maybe changing a document or doing something with the document that they may not have permission to do, you would actually see who that user was in the moment it happened. A good example we talk about with a lot of our firms that bring it up to us and kind of jokingly say it is, if someone's doing a lot of work at night, download a lot of documents at night, and they work 9 to 5, and it's 10 o'clock at night, chances are they're probably trying to do something with documents that they shouldn't be doing, and you could be notified as soon as the document gets changed, and that's all through an activity log. So what we offer with our software is that let's keep best practices in automated workflows and security top of mind, because that's one of the most important things that your clients are looking for from your firm.
Ivy, I had no idea that there was an audit log. What?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
No idea. Okay, I moved it. I went ahead and moved your slide along because I want to make sure that we like stay.
No, that's awesome. So that's perfect. So we offer really 3 things. It's an integrated platform, which means you can do those 3 things we talked about: store, manage, share files, and we have integrations with a bunch of different providers that do different things. We also custom brand the portal. So when your clients go to SmartVault, or when they go to your firm, they don't see SmartVault. We can land on your website a client portal page, and once they click on that, it'll have your same color scheme, font, colors, all that stuff looks the exact same as your website, and they can get into their folder structure from your website. But it's all branded. SmartVault has nothing to do with that part of it. And the last thing that you have there is just streamline workflows. We understand that everyone's workflow isn't the same, but there are similarities in what most people do. And through that, we offer a streamlined workflow with our software.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to say, I love all these integrations, but you have one that's not on here.
I know.
Arrow.
Which one?
And I use Arrow, and I know that it integrates.
Well, I have another one that you don't integrate with that I would love. And I get asked probably every week, Zapier.
Oh, what's funny is we actually have Zapier on we call them sprints. It's where our developers work with another company to develop the apps. We can combine the 2 APIs. Zapier is one that we're definitely working on right now. That's one of the personal ones that I have.
Did everybody just hear that?
Yeah, Zapier is awesome. Yeah, you're spot on. Zapier is awesome. So we have a working one in place. What was the first one you said, Liz?
Arrow. So our firm uses Arrow to document workflow and for our time tracking, and not our real time tracking. So just make sure that y'all all know that we're not time trackers, but we're resource trackers. So, but Arrow integrates. So we can write processes for our client. We can say, step 1, do this, step 2, do that. And so we can actually create a link that goes to our SmartVault, so that way they can open up SmartVault to see the document that might have the credentials in order to log in to a website or something.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that. And one of the things that's real nice about SmartVault is we do hear from our customers. And Liz, you are definitely one of our valued customers. And what's neat about that is if you guys are using some apps out there that you think will work better in your workflow that SmartVault may not have today, that doesn't mean we won't have it tomorrow. So I've written that one down. I know Zapier, that's top of mind. Zapier, definitely. But those other integrations, they're actually not that hard to get involved with. Since we have an open API and we have a team of developers that work with a SmartVault badge, as long as the other app is okay with an open API and wants to work with us, then we can get an application together. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
We had Eileen just asked in the question panel, what about Receipt Bank? Do you guys have something for Receipt Bank?
Yeah, we don't have one with Receipt Bank. That's another one that we're working on right now, but we don't have one today. We do see a lot of value in the integration with Receipt Bank, but we just haven't been able to get on the same page with developing the integration. But good question, Eileen.
Great. Oh, we lost. You're muted.
I was muted.
You were muted.
Talking,
I was like, she's muted.
and you couldn't hear me.
No.
So So that's awesome. Okay, so I just want to say that Ivy, we're really, really appreciative of you coming on because, again, this whole episode is talking about security and that we don't have to be encryptors. We don't have to be that tech heavy in that area. We just have to know the right tools to use and go in the right directions.
Right.
Absolutely.
Before we end, I want to do the poll real quick.
Okay, can I pass sharing to you then?
Well, I think I can do it without sharing. So I just put it out there. So the poll is, would you like to learn more about SmartVault and have somebody reach out to you with more information? So what I'll do is, if you answer yes, then I will send along your contact information to Ivy, and he can have someone reach out to you. So
absolutely. Awesome.
And as a user, I strongly recommend it.
Yeah,
I like it. And what's really cool is because they're at a lot of our events, anytime that I have an issue, I just go to the booth and I'll say, hey, I have this issue. Can you put SmartVault on my phone? So I've had to do that before because it wasn't like a real easy to do process, but I was like, no, I really need it on my phone. So there's some cool stuff that at the booth they'll do for you if you ever have any issues.
Definitely. Yeah, we are very customer focused, so we'll do anything you guys need for sure.
What?
All right, I'm going to close out this poll in just about 5 seconds. So if you would like someone to contact you, please answer the poll. And I'm going to count you down. 5, 4, 3. I went too fast. 2, 1. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. All right.
Awesome.
So super exciting news. The top 10 finalists were announced. And we have a blog article on our website if you want to learn more about the top 10 finalists. So we've got, there they are in all their glory. So definitely, look for that. We are also going to be reaching out to each one of these 10 apps and to get to know them before QuickBooks Connect and during QuickBooks Connect. So look for that as well. We'll be tweeting and Facebooking and blogging about these 10 apps.
Well, and they're going to be on our show. Some of those apps you'll be hearing more about.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the winner of our drink showdown was the $100,000 Show Glow, which I'm so excited because this was a super yummy drink. And if you go to the Appy Hour Showdown pre-show party, which is at 5:45 p.m. right before the $100,000 app showdown at QuickBooks Connect, it's on November 5th, you can have a $100,000 Show Glow. They're actually going to serve this cocktail at the pre-show party. Liz and I are going to be emceeing that pre-show party, hosting that pre-show party. So we would love to see you there. Going to be a really, really good time. So very, very excited about that.
Stoked about that. I'm excited that Intuit wanted to do a drink. I'm so excited about what the winner was. I just couldn't be more jazzed about the pre-show.
Me too. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be,
and there's a fun swag thing too.
Yes.
That's like, I know. No, I'm excited. So I want to also make sure everybody did the SmartVault contest to make sure that they got their swag too.
I posted that in the chat. I'm going to post it in the chat again. And I will also post it on our Facebook page. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Post that link on our Facebook page, and that will enter you into a giveaway of the swag that you guys saw here. It looks like my ball rolled away, but all of the really cool SmartVault swag that we showed you today. So what a great show. Thank you so much, Ivy, for joining us today. This was such a fun episode and informative.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, for sure.
Extraordinarily necessary.
And I love the drink, by the way.
It's fun. It's just always exciting to be able to come up with something that means something. So, the fact that SmartVault is everywhere, not just domestic, it made sense to make something that highlighted that, and that it's your 10-year anniversary. Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. People are out here having a good time with that. We had a bowling event we did about a month ago, and it was pretty awesome. Our original founder came out, so it was real cool. 10 years in technology is not easy. Trust me.
Well, thank you for being here. And we're like a little over, so I want to say thank you to those that stayed.
Yeah, thank you guys. You have an awesome week. We'll see you next month. We're going to be talking about, can you advance to the next slide, Liz?
Yes. Actually, the next slide is incorrect.
Oh.
So we're going to be not there.
All right.
We're going to be at the, we're going to be live. And then the next episode is going to be 1099 information.
1099 information. We're going to have a great sponsor. We have a Client Hub joining us for our November episode. So hope to see you all on that episode as well. So, hey. All right, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again, Ivy.
See you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.